So whether your dog's got a grain allergy or you just want to cook them a super nutritious, really tasty treat with a low environmental impact, your dog is going to go crazy for these grain-free dog treats. And starting off with the ingredients, we're going to need 1 cup of pumpkin. You could use canned pumpkin, mashed pumpkin. You could also substitute this for sweet potato if you wanted. We've got 1 mashed banana. We've got half a cup of coconut oil. We've got half a cup of peanut butter, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 3 eggs, and 2 cups of coconut flour. And so once we've got all of these ingredients together, the first thing that we need to do is actually melt that coconut oil. So I've just put that in a bowl of warm water just for a few minutes. It melts very quickly and it's ready to go. And so the next step is to get a large mixing bowl, and to this we add our pumpkin, our banana, our peanut butter, and that melted coconut oil. And we're just going to give that a real good mix to start with. And then just once that's mixed up a little bit, I'll just then add my eggs and we'll mix that until it's really nice and smooth. And just to speed things along, let's use the electric whisk, shall we? So once that's all mixed together, it's time to add our final ingredients. So the teaspoon of turmeric and the 2 cups of coconut flour. And then we're going to mix that again really well. And this is going to form our dough. Now what you'll find is that it's a lot more moist than a normal dough, and it doesn't handle the same as if you're using flour. And what's also really important is that once we're fully mixed, we then just need to leave that to sit for 15 minutes to let that flour absorb all the water. If your dough is a little bit too moist still, you can always add a little bit more flour, but just leave it a little bit longer for that moisture to be absorbed. Okay, so now that we've let that rest, the water's been absorbed, it's time to actually pop the dough onto a piece of parchment paper or baking paper. And then rather than roll it out like this, what we actually need to do is pop another piece of baking paper over the top. And it's this that we use to roll the dough out. So when it's all rolled out, we can remove that top sheet. And we're going to slide the rolled out mixture onto a baking tray. So we are going to cut these, but we actually need to put this in the fridge for 30 minutes or so, just to allow that coconut oil to properly set and solidify, which is going to make cutting it into shapes so much easier. Okay, and so once your dough's cooled, it's now time to cut it into the shapes that you want. So the best thing to do here is to actually leave it on the baking paper. If you take it off, you're not going to get it back on nicely. If you cut your shapes and then actually you discard the waste around it, leaving the shape on the baking paper. So I've just got a wee dog mould. You can use a little bone one, whatever one takes your fancy. Now, I'm not much of a chef, and to be honest, for me, with these, it's function over form. So we can do a couple of dog ones there. I think we've lost a leg of the first one. And what you then do with the scraps is you roll it out again, make your shapes, and kind of just repeat the process until you've used up all your dough. But thankfully for me, your dog's not going to care what it looks like, so I'm actually just going to cut it into the kind of sizes that I want it to be, but just leaving it on the baking tray still. And the next step is to simply put them in a preheated oven that's been heated to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit or 140, 150 degrees centigrade. Now they need to cook for about 45 minutes. It's better to do it longer on that lower temperature than crank that heat up, because they are liable to burn, and it will depend a little bit on how thick that you've left those biscuits. Okay, so after 45 to 55 minutes, let's get our grain-free dog treats out of the oven. There they are. And we'll then just transfer them onto this wire rack to let them cool and continue to crisp up. If you keep these dog treats in an airtight container, they're going to be good for about a month. You You could pop them in the freezer as well, where they'll be good for a couple of months. Next up, check out how to make these irresistible chicken jerky treats for your dog that they're going to go crazy over. So click on that video, but until then, I'm Dr. Alex. This is Our Pets Health, because they're family.